It is the dead of night on April 26, 1986, and the skies over Ukraine are deceptively calm. In the model Soviet city of Pripyat, 50,000 people are fast asleep, dreaming of the upcoming May Day holidays. Just 2 miles away, the concrete heart of the Chernobyl Nuclear Power Plant is quietly tearing itself apart. This facility is the crown jewel of the Soviet Empire, a shining symbol of atomic supremacy designed to endlessly feed the nation's hunger for energy. Reactor No. 4 is the newest and most powerful machine on the grid. But underneath its technological triumph lies a fatal, closely guarded secret. The massive RBMK 1000 reactor has no heavy containment vessel, relying instead on a highly unstable balance of graphite and water.
Tonight, the tired night shift crew is ordered to run a routine safety test. They must prove that the spinning turbines can power essential cooling water pumps during a total blackout. It is a simulation meant to make the plant safer, but instead, it will unleash a nightmare. The test was supposed to happen hours earlier, during the day shift. However, a sudden demand for electricity from the grid controller in Kyiv forced a fatal 12-hour delay. Because the reactor has been running at half power for hours, a toxic byproduct called xenon-135 has silently built up inside the core. Xenon is a neutron poison that severely chokes the nuclear chain reaction, suffocating the atomic fire. By the time the night shift takes over, the reactor is highly unstable, plummeting to a near shutdown state of just 30 megawatts. It is starving for power. Standard safety protocols dictate an immediate shutdown to let the poison burn off, but the shift supervisor, Anatoly Dyatlov, refuses to fail the test. Driven by the intense pressure of the Soviet system, he demands that the power be brought back up, ignoring the warnings of his team. He orders his men to physically pull nearly all of the control rods out of the core. The control rods are the brakes of this massive nuclear engine. Normally, a strict minimum of 15 rods must remain inside the reactor to keep it stable. But tonight, they leave only 8. The massive reactor is now stripped of its defenses, running completely exposed. Inside the dark core, uranium fuel rods are heating up the surrounding water. As the test officially begins at 1:23 a.m., the flow of cooling water drops. The water rapidly boils into steam, creating empty pockets called voids. In normal reactors, losing water slows the reaction down. But Chernobyl possesses a catastrophic design flaw known as a positive void coefficient. Less water triggers more fission, which creates more heat, which boils more water. A runaway feedback loop takes hold in seconds. The operators watch in pure terror as the power output skyrockets completely out of their control. Panic sets in. Someone slams the AZ-5 emergency shutdown button, the absolute last resort designed to instantly drop all the control rods back into the core and kill the reaction. But the engineers do not know a deadly secret hidden in the blueprints. The tips of these control rods are made of graphite, a material that actually accelerates the nuclear reaction. As the graphite tips slide into the core, they violently displace the remaining cooling water. The brakes have just functioned as an accelerator. The reactor's power jumps to 30,000 megawatts, 10 times its maximum operational limit. The fuel shatters, and the water instantly flashes into steam, creating a pressure so immense that the 1,000-ton steel and concrete shield covering the reactor is blasted entirely off. A second, infinitely more violent explosion follows, ripping the building apart and exposing the radioactive core to the open sky. A terrifying, mesmerizing beam of blue ionized light shoots up into the infinite darkness. The air itself is electrified. 8 tons of highly radioactive debris, burning graphite, and pulverized uranium are hurled across the complex. Firefighters arrive quickly, assuming it is an ordinary electrical fire. They wear standard uniforms, no protective gear, no radiation masks, and have received no warning. They pick up glowing blocks of graphite with their bare hands to clear the roads. They taste something metallic in the air, a physical manifestation of the radiation ionizing the fluids on their tongues. Within minutes, they begin to feel dizzy and nauseous. Their skin turns red, and their bodies burn from the inside out. While these men sacrifice their lives in the toxic smoke, the sun rises over Pripyat, illuminating a crisp Sunday morning. Mothers walk their babies in strollers, and children play in the sandboxes, breathing in dust that contains the equivalent radiation of hundreds of Hiroshima bombs. For 36 agonizing hours, the citizens are kept entirely in the dark. It is only when the radioactive cloud drifts hundreds of miles away
and sets off alarms at a power plant in Sweden that the truth is forced out into the open. Finally, the mechanical voice on the loudspeakers orders the evacuation of Pripyat. The residents are told to pack lightly, promised they will return in just 3 days. It is a lie. They will never see their homes again. What follows is the most desperate cleanup operation in human history. Helicopters fly suicide missions directly over the exposed crater, dropping thousands of tons of sand, lead, and boron to choke the inferno. An army of young men, known as the liquidators, are sent onto the roof of the adjacent reactor to manually shovel radioactive graphite back into the pit, allowed to work for only 90 seconds at a time. Today, an enormous steel confinement arch sits over the ruins, a colossal tomb built to lock the monster away for a century. Outside, the city of Pripyat crumbles. Yet in the absence of humanity, the wild has returned. Wolves, bears, and wild horses roam through the decaying apartment blocks and overgrown streets. Chernobyl stands as a silent monument to our greatest scientific achievements and our most devastating failures. The fire has long been extinguished, but the invisible ghosts of that April night will haunt the Earth for thousands of years.
I told you to hurry. It's not our fault. Remember the good times.